Fáilte. Welcome to Morrigan Monday with myself, Lora O'Brien, and today we're going to look at the magic of the Morrigan by examining her texts and lore in the Odras poem, which is in the Dinhenicus. And we have two versions of this, so we're going to look at the Metrical Dinhenicus and the Prose Dinhenicus. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can have a quick look. And if you don't know kind of what we're looking at here, this is the Codex, the online database for Celtic studies, basically. And for a fuller examination of how to actually use the lore and go through it and examine it and all the rest of it, you can go to the Irish Pagan School, and there's a free 21-day Learn the Lore challenge over there. And we actually look at all the source material and kind of how to go about it. So we're not going to do that today. Go over to the irishpaganschool.com and you will find that. There's links down below as well. So we've come in and we've looked at for Odras, which is one of the places that the Morrigan appears in the lore. So you can see here that it's Middle Irish prose and verse versions. And we have various different, it's in the Book of Leinster and various other manuscripts that it appears in the Book of Lecan and others there. So you can see the source manuscripts for it. And then moving down, we can see the primary sources. So there's been a couple of translations, both of a translation of the prose and the poetry version. So what I did was I clicked on the direct link for the verse first. So we're going to look at that. That's over on UCC website. Everything goes away. And that is where we are here. So it's CELT, the Corpus of Electronic Texts, over at the University College Cork. And it just brings us to a direct link to that. So we are in the Metrical Dinhenicus here, okay? So what I'm going to do is read this out to you so that you have access to it. Part of the mission on my channel is to make multimedia and accessible versions of the original lore so that people don't kind of have any excuse for not going back to source, because I think that it's really important in our understanding of Morrigan and other deities that we work with. And it's definitely how I have developed such deep and strong relationships with various deities, Irish gods and goddesses. So I'm going to read this poem to you. Odras, noble the lady for whom we furbish the lay that we indite, the daughter of Odornathan, son of Lajna, son of Luodar. A lady of the land was she, and mighty, deedful, radiant, danger-loving, the fair and shapely spouse of stout Buchat, lord of cattle. Keeper of kine to worshipful Cormac was Buchat, man of might. He roused the lusty herd betimes each morning. His trim, alert wife, Odras, fierce and tall, followed him one day to watch the sweet-fleshed cattle. As busy, dark, wrinkled Odras was sleeping in the early morning, the Dagda's wife found her. In this wise came the shape-shifting goddess. The envious queen, fierce of mood, the cunning raven-caller, brought off with her bull that lived in miry Lea Mwina. Trips me up even so often. The bull covered a cow, the paddock bull in our herd. She hied him in haste from Tever to the levels of the moor of Oru. Slevin was that bull's name. Wild was that brown savage, a mettlesome, unmastered beast. His name clave to that lowland. There came to blood-stained Crochu, according to the weird and terrible tale, the mighty Morrigan, whose pleasure was in mustered hosts. Odras came to despoil her by arms, to an issue that was not lawful, with her stark, ill-fated henchman who fell at Cool Caja. Caja was her gillie's name, many a fight he knew. Odras brought him in a bitter hour to the track of her herd of heifers. Afterward, when her henchman was gone, the lady came in shining trim to she Crochen likewise, and a weird event befell yonder. Imprudently, the dark wrinkled one let sleep come over her in cold Dara Falga, where she met mortal outrage. The horrid Morrigan, out of the cave of Crochu, her fit abode, came upon her slumbering. Alas, the combat on the hill. The owner of kine chanted over her, with fierceness unabating. Toward huge sleeve Bovna, every spell of power, she was full of guile. The forceful woman melted away towards Shegish, in a sleepy stream, like a pool void of lustre. She lost her victorious powers. Odras is the sweet-sounding noble name of the sluggish, pallid streamlet. It passed from the lady, luckless visitant, to the river Odras. That's a little bit flowery, poetry-wise, and that to me reads quite medieval, and definitely kind of after the fact, I suppose, of the coming of Christianity, just to my mind, where there's not a lot of maybe original kind of Rosk-style poetry in that. Okay, so we're going to look at the prose version, which is often in other texts what we see. The prose version kind of comes either side by side or after what may have been the original oral Rusk version of the stories. Odras, daughter of Odarnathan, son of Lava, son of Luadra, tis she was hospitaller to Buchat Buasach, the cow chief of Cormac Huachinge. She went after her husband with kine, and to her came the Morrigan, bringing a bull of Leafwine. His name was Slevin, smooth, and he bulled one of Odras's cows around her. As he was being driven eastward from Tara, he halted at Oru's Heath and grazed there, hence its name, Freach Slevna, Slevin's Heath. The Morrigan carried him off and installed him with the cow in the cave of Crochu. Thereafter went Odras along with her servant Kaja, who fell dead at Kal Kaja, Kaja's recess. Still on fared Odras in the track of her cow, towards the elf mound of Crochu. Sleep fell upon her in the oak wood of Falga, and the Morrigan woke her and sang spells over her, and made of Odras a pool of water which entered the river that flows to the west of Slieve Bawn, the Shannon, hence Odras. Now there is notes here. This one, the Review Celtic, this is the prose version. So this one is translated by Whitley Stokes. And that's what we're looking at here, the Rend and Hennikas, the prose version. Excuse me, I'm still not quite better. The only place that we can identify, and I have looked, the only place that we can identify specifically in all the places mentioned here is Slieve Bawn, which is still, it's the mountain outside Strokestown, which is kind of on the edge, I suppose, of the territory of Crocan or Rathcrocan, which is a giant complex of archaeological sites to this day, obviously. So if you're not familiar, go and look up rathcrohan.ie and you will find a lot of information on various sites around Rathcrohan, which is Crocan. One of the sites is the cave, which is the She Ar Crocan, the cave of Crocan, which is mentioned in both, and that's where the Morrigan comes out of. And one of our more famous quotes, I suppose, is here, her fit abode. The horrid Morrigan came out of the cave of Crocu, her fit abode, is the translation that Stokes gave that. So she comes out, but she also brings the cows in. And it seems that this woman, Odras, is going after the Morrigan and falls asleep in the meantime. She loses her servant, her gilly, and there's a bull and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, these are all common themes with the Morrigan. The singing spells over her, you know, what that looks like is really interesting as well, because what we have is the, let me get the exact quote, the owner of kine. So here actually the Morrigan is named as the owner of kine. And it makes me wonder, even, sorry, I'll get to the spells in a second, but it makes me wonder, did Buchat and Odras, were they taken cattle from the Morrigan, you know, that she was taken back? Is it something that was her due that they weren't giving to her? And, you know, is this how Odras and the Morrigan ended up effectively in combat with each other, where she met her mortal outrage? So the owner of Kine chanted over her with fierceness unabating, toward huge sleeve Bovna, every spell of power. She was full of guile. That is very much in the style of the Morrigan's Rusk Caha, which would be battle poetry / prophecy. And we see this pretty much everywhere the Morrigan speaks. It's poetical, you know, so this kind of chanted over her with fierceness unabating is very reminiscent of chanting battle spells, basically, or battle satire as well, would be another way to look at it. And, you know, singing spells over her. The singing, the poetry is very, very much in line with what we know of the Morrigan's magic. So this is a very good piece of source lore to, I would say, to meditate on, to focus on, to get very familiar with, to build relationship around, to try and figure out. So I'm going to put links to these sources below, and you can have a look for yourself. And let me know what you think of the Odras poem and the Morrigan's battle magic in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the Irish Pagan School for more classes, both free and paid, on this goddess, this Irish goddess. Slán go fóill. See you in the next video.